Hey, Bayek, it's me, and in today's video, I'm doing something, well, this is a really, really important special film that over the years I've absolutely loved. And it is, of course, Witchfinder General from 1968. This is just an amazing film, and, you know, I must have watched this so many times, and I just can't help but every time I watch it I think, wow, there's something different in it. I see all sorts of things. This is an amazing film. It really is. I think also because of the director, a lot of mystique has actually, appeared around this film. The director was Michael Reeves, and I think when somebody dies young and they're sort of just as their career is really taking off, then there is that element of always what if and what is achieved in that short time. He directed 3 films with this one. The other 2 were Revenge of the Blood Beast, 1966, also known as The She Beast, and then The Sorcerers, 1967, which is notable for having Boris Karloff in the role. And that is in itself quite a very interesting film. But this is the film that really put him there and showed the world that he was potentially one of the great directors to be. This film displays all that is really great in his work. It's just amazing. It is, and I can see why he has the acclaim. He died in 1969, not really that long after this film was completed. It was an overdose of barbiturates, but it was an accidental one. He did have problems, it's said, about depression and generally like that. But it's so sad, really. Well, let me go into this then. The film is 86 minutes long. On Rotten Tomatoes, it's got 88%. I thought it would be higher, actually. I really did. But now the critics are very much loving this film. It's considered one of the great horror films. It's on lists. It's in a lot of people's top 10. Yeah, it's that good. It really is. And from what it does, what would we count it as? I'd say it's been put in the folk horror context, I think. And this, of course, is before The Wicker Man, which is interesting. Again, it's a groundbreaking film, and it's produced. The film was produced by Tygon, British Film Productions, Also, it had also American International Pictures, AIP, and it was through them that actually got Vincent Price in the role. He was like contracted. He was one of their actors, because apparently Michael Reeves was hoping to get Donald Pleasance. That would have been interesting, but I mean, look who he got, Vincent Price. Yeah, that turned out to be a massive plus for this film. It really did. His performance is just amazing. The musical score is also interesting. He got Paul Ferris to do this, and I love the music in this because it's kind of inspired by Greensleeves. You can hear Greensleeves almost in there, and it just adds that something special to this already special film. I just thought I'd mention that. So the cast, obviously, Vincent Price plays Matthew Hopkins, and Matthew Hopkins, his performance as Matthew Hopkins is just fantastic. It's one of the great career moments of Vincent Price. It really is. And also, I think it's important to say this already, that Michael Reeves, he may have been 24 years old, but he wasn't afraid to give his directions the way he wanted them. And there was, it seemed, some friction at first between the two, because Michael Reeves wanted no campness. He wanted a straight, direct performance from Vincent Price. He wanted it. He wanted to give that real evil to the character. He didn't want any, Vincent Price had that, where he could be rather sort of campy and comedic. Nothing like that was wanted at all. And his performance, he wanted to be more restrained, and he needed that for the role. And he didn't like it, I don't think, at first, but then he realised, yes, this director knew what he was doing, and he ended up giving such a wonderful performance. It's a real career high for Vincent Price, this film. Amazing, absolutely amazing performance he gives. And I suppose there's that trend as well that, in a lot of low-budget films, there's a feeling that not all actors see the films in quite, the bigger budgets and all that. But Vincent Price did a great performance, and that was important to the whole film, definitely. Then the other actor who's in the sort of leading roles in this film is Ian Ogilvy. Now, he was a friend, really, of Michael Reeves. He'd worked on the other two films, and he wanted him in this role as the cornet Richard Marshall, the soldier. And he's great in this. He's really good, and he talks often with a lot of affection about Michael Reeves and what he did in this role as well, which I think is really great. His career is interesting. I say he had a film career and a TV career as well. And I was looking at some of the things that he was in. He was in Waterloo, which I always bring up because it's a favourite of mine. He was in, well, in terms of TV, he was in Return of the Saint, only though from 1978 to 1979, which I do remember him being in that one. And also, just as a more trivia thing, he was in an episode of Babylon 5. Yes, Babylon 5, which I absolutely love, as a sci-fi show. He was in an episode from season 5 in The Kingdom of the Blind. I'll just throw that in. But yeah, he's still involved a lot in writing now, I think, and he's still in the industry, and wonderful. It's great to see such a long career. For an actor who's probably not really massively well known, but this is a fantastic role that he plays in it, and unbelievable, really. Well, I say the cast is. Then we've got Hilary Dyer playing Sarah Lowes. She, looking at her career, she was in The Oblong Box from 1969, which had Vincent Price in it, yes, and Christopher Lee. So that's a good look at something. You know, great. I love it when we get that. Then we've got Rupert Davies playing John Lowes. He's got some Hammer connections, but he was known mainly in TV series in the early 60s, 1960 to 1963, as the Detective Magray. In Hammer films, he was in Dracula as Risen from the Grave, 1968. He was also in The Oblong Box. He was in Waterloo. I keep bringing it up. All that period. Yeah. So, what a great actor to have, Robert Davies. Then we had Robert Russell playing John Stern, who's like Matthew Hopkins' sidekick, who does all the dirty work, the torturing, and all that kind of stuff. And he's another villain. I noticed on his, he was in the Inspector Clouseau, the third Pink Panther film, 1968. So same year, he was involved in that. Then we've got like two very small cameo appearances. One of them, I just love this actor. It's Patrick Wymark. He plays Cromwell. Yes, Cromwell. What a great part. Yeah, he's good. He's not in it that long. He was also in, which again is one of my favourite films, the Alec Guinness, Richard Harris film Cromwell. Yes, in 1970, he was in that as well. There we are. He was also, of course, one of my favourite all-time war films, Where Eagles Dare. That's 1968. 1968 is a great year. And he was also involved the folk horror film, which we spoke about before, which is The Blood on Satan's Claw from 1970. So I've talked about his career, his fantastic career he had. Then there's it's only a very small appearance, but you sort of think, what? You know, William Bramble appears as Master Loach. It's not very long, but you're thinking it's him from Steptoe and Son. Yes, it is. It's oh crikey, you know, you just see it. Steptoe and Son, of course, was such a massive TV series, and when you see a comedy actor playing a serious part, you can't help but think of the character in the TV series. It's there, but anyhow, I just thought I'd put that bit of trivia in. But he's there. If you know the series, then you'll see him there, and you think, oh, what's he doing there? Right. Well, what is this about? It is based, I'd say loosely, I use the word loosely, on a historical character called Matthew Hopkins. Now, it's 1645. 1645 is a crucial year because the English Civil War has been going on now, and the tide has definitely turned since 1644 with the Battle of Marston Moor in favour of Parliament, and 1645 sees the decisive Battle of Naseby. Battle of Naseby was the battle which effectively ended the Royalist challenge, and Parliament under the we say Cromwell. Cromwell was the leading general, but there were other generals involved. It's just that Cromwell would emerge as the leading figure. It's also, I think, is interesting that in this film, the parliamentarian forces are not seen as the villains. Quite often, I notice in a lot of films about the English Civil War, you get the royalists are always the good guys, but that wasn't true, as we know. And it's good to see that the Roundheads, and I like the bit of the film where we actually see quite a bit about the soldiers and the Roundheads. But what happened, the Civil War period in this time, it brought a lot of chaos in the rural communities, and in this chaos we had people like Matthew Hopkins emerged who took advantage. These are apocalyptic times, if you want to call it. You get that, as we know, right through history, people who take advantage of that, and Matthew Hopkins certainly did, and we had the whole witchcraft scares going on, and it was ideal for him to make a bob or two, as well as a name for himself, which he did. He did very well out of this, and it was almost an epidemic at this time of these kind of superstitions and people getting really scaring people about what was happening in the world. Because this English Civil War was a major part of our history, and it led to, in a way, the revolution that happened, even though the king is deposed and because Charles II comes back. We have created the parliamentary democracy, really. Yeah, it's all the roots. The revolution is then completed in 1688 with William of Orange coming and being the king, we are ahead of the French. The French went really far in their revolution, but yeah, the revolution happened there, and we were ahead, definitely. And this Civil War was an important part in our history. Anyway, I'm going off. It's a film. I'm not trying to give a historical lecture, but, history is one of my favourite subjects, and it's the one that I did, and I know more about, and particularly the English Civil War period. Right. The film, therefore, he wants to marry and this girl who's she lives with her uncle, Sarah Lowes is her name, and Rupert Davis plays John Lowes, who is the priest. He's a priest, her uncle, and he knows that this Matthew Hopkins is around and wants him. Well, he wants Richard to, make her safe, marry her, get it all sorted out, and then take her away from the area. And that's how the story begins. And of course, Matthew Hopkins and his sidekick, John Stern, they come into the village, and because they've been invited, and the priest becomes a target of being a witch, and then we get the normal escalation from that, and then this is how the film comes. And of course, the film becomes, in the end, a revenge film as well. That, you know, as a soldier, he is been fighting for a cause, and he wants to protect his wife. That's how he sees it. And what happens brings out that need to get revenge because of what has happened. And it's an old tale, an old story, and we're still going today in stories, and this is the basic premise of this film. And the terror that Matthew Hopkins is wreaking is all there on screen, and you see it right from the moment of there's a brutality. I mean, this is 1968, but this is really quite violent. It's violent in a stronger way than even Hammer could ever create. This is a very brutal film for its time. And of course, it would have problems with the censors. But I think that is important to the film because it's a brutal time. And this is another style of, you know, I mean, Hammer was moving in this direction, as it always was. But horror films in this time, this is way ahead of its time. You know, it's really showing what the horror of it. And it's seen as not an exploitative film. It's seen as a important, valuable film, and as a director, and even the British Film Board of Censors, which couldn't allow certain scenes to be shown, and recognise this, that as a director, this was an important film, and that is there in the way the subject matter is treated. It's not an exploitative film at all. I do like exploitative films, but no, this is a serious, you know, piece of filmmaking, you know, definitely. People have actually described this, and I can understand why, as a form of English Western, because it has those, you know, the landscapes. I mean, the whole film is filmed on location, and again, that really enhances this film. The countryside and the galloping of the horses and the armies and the way it is portrayed, they see this as a Western, and I can see that, yeah. And it's got that, you know, Westerns often have about the revenge as well. There's so many parallels in this film of the genres, and it's great to see. This is a British film, yeah, I'll repeat that. It is a British film in 1968. And the performances of the actors, everything about this film, if you've never seen it, then please watch this film. Vincent Price gives, for me, his best performance I have seen. And I do think he's does some great performances, like in the Mask. What is it? The Mask of the Red Death one. The Edgar Allan Poe one from 1963. Mask of the Red Death. That's it. Yeah, Mask of the Red Death. I absolutely love him in that. And that's a more serious performance, but we're still with it. But he's down. And of course, Theatre of Blood. I love Theatre of Blood, and that's an overtop Shakespearean thing. But this performance is just shows what a great actor actually Vincent Price could be. And Michael Reeves brings that out in him, which I don't think any other director had really kind of stood up to Vincent Price. and brought out, and Vincent Price recognised this in the interviews. He's talked about it. He did how, you know, this performance is so good, and it is. The way he portrays that menace and evil is just incredible. Yeah, I can't talk about this enough, really. But yeah, it's so good to see this. As I say, it did suffer censorship, and also there was like an export version as well of this film, where we see breasts which didn't really go down too well with the censors. We see the ending particularly it is brutal. Even now you look at the ending and you see it and think, yeah, wow, for its time it's very brutal, but very necessary to the film, I think, you know. I mean, compared with nowadays, we probably think, well, it's not as bad. Obviously, you know, nowadays there's so many things that you see in horror films, but for its time, this is way ahead, and it's amazing to see it. But obviously, it suffered with the censors. But of course, in later years now, all these cuts have been restored, and as you say, you get on this version is a restored version with those cuts, which is fascinating to see. I just think this is a film I just totally recommend. I could go on a lot more about it because it's such a fascinating film. If you've not seen it, please watch this film. It's available still in this edition. Shout Factory did one. Scream Factory in 2013 in a part of a Vincent Price box set. But this is the 2011 release. And there's some great extras on here as well. Very good extras. So it's well worth it. This is by Odeon Entertainment, which I've not heard of as a label before, but there we are. So there's the cover, and there's the back, and there's all the special features, and we've just got this nice disc. Excellent. Highly recommended, definitely. So that is Witchfinder General from 1968. There we are. So, if you're new to the channel and have just seen this and think, hey, that ain't too bad, is it? And you want to hear, you know, me ramble on a bit more, then please subscribe. And if you haven't subscribed, just subscribe, and then we'll let you know when I produce these videos and all that kind of stuff. And I do ramble on, I know, but there we are. Sometimes. Yes. Also, if you like it, please give it a like, because then it helps with algorithms, and it all costs note. And, you know, hopefully more people might enjoy these videos that I do. If you've got any comments, please comment. It's really grand to hear from you. I really love, and I'll answer all these comments that you give. And I know sometimes I do go off and I forget things. Or my brain doesn't always get there, but I get there. And this is what you get. It's me. That's it. So all I've got to say is, I'll see thee again.